We just ended up making things worse.
That's not true. The villains here are the ones who use the virus. The worst in them are the ones who made it.
Kill me. I don't want to change into one of those monsters! I'd feel the same way if I was you. But the option of taking our own lives no longer belongs to us. We owe it to the people who died alongside us. We have to continue living.
I can't imagine what you two have been through, but I know that neither one of you are the type of person who would sit here and argue while the world dies.
Not sure if y'all can tell, but it's basically the Resident Evil poster. And on the back. Yeah, only the real ones know that reference. Yeah, I don't know why I wasn't wearing it during my cool little montage there, but, oops. Hey, everybody! Welcome to Get Busy Watching! I'm your host, Honest Dan. Let's be masters of unlocking things and talk movies. It's finally here, and I can't tell you how excited I was. For all intents and purposes, this is my movie of the year. I love these CGI Resi films, man. And I've been playing a crap ton of Resident Evil Revelations to get myself in the right mood, on a couple of different levels, actually. Both settings are water, aquatic-themed monsters are front and center, and best girl Jill Valentine is the star baby! Mostly, anyway. And the fact that they just brought back every single major core character from the series in an Avengers-styles team-up, dude, I am so giddy! I mean, look at the cast alone. We have returning voices from the films. We have voice actors from the games that are making their film debut, which is all so great, dude. I can't wait. Let's just jump right into this, man. This is my honest opinion of Resident Evil Death Island. Claire Redfield, reprised by Stephanie Panicello, has found traces of an improved strain of the T-virus, the zombie monster-making virus from the very first game, in the carcass of a dead whale. Cross-examining zombies that have not been turned via bites lead everyone to Alcatraz Island. Posing as tourists, anti-bioterrorist agents Chris Redfield, reprised by Kevin Dorman, and a troubled but field-ready Jill Valentine, voiced by Nicole Tompkins, as well as Claire, travel to Alcatraz to investigate. Before they know it, they're swarmed by zombies that have been infected by no discernible means, as well as other horrors, and the man behind it is a former Umbrella security agent turned mad scientist, Dylan Blake, voiced by Damon Mills.
No bites?
None of them were bitten, only their victims. And their victims didn't turn, they died from their wounds.
I dig it. I like it. It's, kind of disappointing though, not gonna lie. Not by much, but kind of. Let's talk about the cons, because that's gonna be what hurts the most to talk about. Starting off small, I think we have an unimpressive lineup of bioweapons. And with the ones that you do get, they're obviously gonna get the spotlight, or you don't really get enough of them. Of course, I'm referring to the amphibious version of the ever-popular Lickers. Make no mistake, Lickers are damn cool. But I feel like anytime variants of them are attempted, they're less cool. The live-action films are guilty of this. The mutated Licker from the first one was kinda lame. The giant Licker from Retribution was pointless. Even the evolved Lickers from Darkside Chronicles felt underwhelming. Green, scaly, and 2 comically sized claws? How different. Nothing tops the minimal classic designs, that's all I'm saying. Glad they exist here, and the filmmakers tried something different, but liquors are way too easy.
How many of these are there?
I ain't stopping to count.
I suppose it was also too much to hope for to get aquatic versions of zombies in this one. I admit, this disappointment is a byproduct of me playing too much Revelations, as the monsters in this game went full-on thematic. Not a traditional zombie in sight, and some of the bioweapons are downright horrifying. The comm officer, anyone? Jesus!
This is the Queen Zenobia. Emergency.
The movie doesn't even attempt anything of that nature. Yes, there's a brief appearance of a giant mutant whale, but that scene lasts all but a few minutes and you barely get a decent look at it. And we're certainly teased with a zombie shark, a nice potential throwback to Neptune from the GameCube remake of the first game, but that doesn't amount to anything exciting either. Oh, but thank God we have bio-drones. Whatever the hell they are. Zombie mosquitoes? Tiny microbots? I don't remember.
My prototype biodrones. I tell it who to infect, and it always finds its target.
The point is, there was such wasted potential in making new ocean-based monsters, and instead we get bare bones.
The guy I'm here for, Antonio Taylor, this is his area of expertise. And these drones look ready to go.
You know, I don't want to depress myself with just negativity, so let's checker this up and throw in a positive to keep things balanced. Let's talk about the action. The action, as always in these, is over the top. Nothing at all like you'd find in the games. Except maybe 6 and 5, which are not considered to be the good Resident Evil games. But for what they are, for what the action scenes that we do get in this movie, they're not the best in the franchise, but they're still pretty solid. There's plenty of standout set pieces. Much as I complain about the aquatic liquors, I can't deny the scene where Jill and Leon team up to fight them was done really well. Trying to be quiet while letting this lone one go by, but then it starts getting a whiff of Jill. Man, the angles used here were making me feel really uncomfortable. Japan, y'all are sick! This bit where Jill stops a thing from falling, but not this thing from falling, causing chaos, it was a lot of fun to watch. The directing was certainly weird here. Like, this liquor in the way back got Jill's leg, but none of these mofos? But the scene overall was enjoyable. But then there's the Leon motorcycle scene. Anytime he's on a bike, things gotta get wild.
That bike.
And I do adore the climactic assemble scene with all the characters fighting the giant BOW.
Looks like we're dealing with this first. Let's do it.
Damn near brought a tear to my eye, man. I mean, look at this nonsense. Everyone's just firing rocket launchers left and right. Machine guns galore and all the splosions that a little sociopathic brown boy could ever hope for. This was basically my 4th of July, y'all. Damn proud to be American. Ain't no way we ain't gonna let no dang gum mutant freak into my country.
We'll keep this guy busy.
On it! Don't die!
No shit!
Back to our second negative, which again is pretty light as this issue is pretty common in the Resi franchise. The villain is nothing all that special. In fact, Dylan makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Light spoilers ahead, by the way. The whole thing with this guy is that he once worked for Umbrella Biohazard Countermeasure Services, or the real ones will save their breath and say UBCS. He was there at Raccoon City before it got nuked and was tasked with saving surviving Umbrella bigwigs. His team got hit by zombies, they all turned, and he was forced to kill his best friend. How does a dude with that kind of background turn into a bioterrorist? Nothing indicates that he knows the first thing of rudimentary virology, let alone the nutsack to be a full-on terrorist with a oh no, YouTube does not like that word. A complex involving not aliving himself. YouTube, y'all, it's just a word. Context should be a thing. Anyway, if you saw the Netflix miniseries Resident Evil Infinite Darkness, my review in the description, please don't mind the piss poor green screen effects, then you might remember one of the main villains had a similar criticism. I faced hardship, now the world must feel my pain.
I will open their eyes to true terror. It's the only way to keep this tragedy from ever happening again.
Bitch, dye your hair black, cover an eyeball, put on some Bring Me the Horizon, and you'll have achieved full emo. Well, if you thought that was bad, this is worse. At least that dude was already infected with a virus and opted to use it not to kill the guy who infected him with it in the first place, but to show himself to the world like Edward in Bella's Dumb Dream. The point is, there is such a gap between what happened to him in the past and where he ends up in the present. To the point where I think a whole ass movie was needed to explain where he even learned virology, how he became a virologist trailblazer, all in the span of 15-ish years, and then came up with the mentality to take his 15-year-old pain and make the world pay for it. Wouldn't it make sense to track down all the Umbrella scientists that created the T-virus and take his pain out on them? What if the story was about Dylan kidnapping the families of Umbrella scientists and forcing them to watch their families and children turn into bioweapons and be forced to kill them like he had to kill his best friend? So the BSAA and the whole good guy squad has to go in and save those scientists that caused them so much pain in Raccoon City, creating this moral quandary of whether or not they actually save the scientists or let Dylan exact his revenge. Dear Lord, I just came up with a better story than what was actually presented. The point is, Dylan's a dumbass, one of the worst Resi villains in the entire franchise, which is saying a lot since most are already pretty two-dimensional, and the Netflix live-action series exists.
Baby, but look at where I ended up.
You vulgar, utterly uncivilized.
Back to the positives, I would say that most of the characters are done justice. Chris is your typical Boy Scout. He seems to have mellowed out since the events of Vendetta. Rebecca's just kind of a wallflower. She's just there, though her role it jumps up significantly in the last like 30 minutes or so. Leon as always kicks ass, though weirdly his one-liners here are so bad that it makes his cheeseball lines in Resident Evil 4 seem like poetry.
What are those things doing here?
They were tourists.
That's one fucked up tour.
But in true Resident Evil fashion, the best character is, of course, Claire Redfield. I don't know what it is with these movies giving her the best character, but I sure as hell ain't complaining. She's the best of nearly every character. She's as likable as Rebecca, she's as skilled in a fight as Chris, and she's got the same warmth and approachability that Jill was supposed to have. More on that in a minute. But she has arguably one of the most outstanding character moments. As it turns out, there's some backstory that TerraSave, her relief aid organization that rescues and helps people during incidents involving viral outbreaks in this universe, was framed for a terrorist attack. Certainly some questions to be asked, like clearly the authorities agree that her organization was framed since she isn't arrested or anything, and you'd think this is public knowledge, so why would a common person call her a terrorist? I'm getting ahead of myself. She joins Chris and Jill to investigate Alcatraz, and she and Chris eventually come across Dr. Antonio Taylor, the scientist that Dylan forced to create the new T-virus. He seems well aware of TerraSave and of the terrorist incident in question, going so far as to tell her that he doesn't trust her and calling her, to her face, a terrorist.
Is there a problem?
Not unless you're recruiting for your cult. I heard what happened in Harvardville. You're a bunch of terrorists.
Naturally, this makes her mad. But when Antonio is in danger and gets hurt, she doesn't hesitate to protect him and try to save his life. Light spoilers here, but there's a scene where the good guys get captured. locked up in prison cells, and most get infected by the virus. Claire is locked in a cell with Antonio, and as she's dying from the virus, she still makes his recovery her only priority as he's dying too. It's a staggeringly tender moment of redemption for Antonio and an affirmation that Claire is one of Resident Evil's best characters.
I called you a terrorist before.
You honestly think I wouldn't help you because of that?
Now to end this review on one last topic. And it's kind of a halvesy. It's both a positive and a negative. The star attraction, Mr. Genevov. That's right. Jill is both my absolute favorite part of this movie, as well as my most hated. This is gonna take a minute. I think many will share my sentiment that the primary reason we're all here is for the Jill sandwich, as she hasn't exactly been present in the game series since Resident Evil 5. RE3 Remake doesn't count, so it's nice to see where she is canonically in the game's universe. But that could easily mean nothing if her character wasn't, arguably, the main one with the biggest arc. Thankfully, that's exactly what she is. She starts off being kind of traumatized by the events of RE5, and is now the grizzled tough girl that Chris was in Vendetta. Eventually, she's faced with situations that test how far she's truly fallen. Will she continue to be cold, cynical, and reckless? Or will she return to the warm, compassionate, and brave woman she used to be? The fact that this is her story makes me happy.
Why'd you go in alone?
I'm not waiting for backup when there's a chance someone's in danger.
Right, but
that's what makes this hurt all the more. Why do I say that? Because she's just not Jill. Before I hit the brunt of my complaints, let's first address the smallest issue. Her appearance. Some online have stated that it doesn't make sense from a narrative standpoint. Her hairstyle is retained from RE3, but her final canon appearance showed her having long hair in a ponytail, and blonde. Personally, I have my own little headcanon. Yes, there's reasons why her hair became blonde, mostly due to Wesker's experimentations, but there's nothing to suggest that her ever-changing blood cells, having been mutated from the T-virus, the cure to the T-virus, if Revelations is canon to the mainline stories, then she's been doused with both the T-Abyss virus and its cure. All in addition to Wesker's experiments, Jill is truly one of the more unique survivors of the series. And her rehabilitation is never given explicit details, so for all we know, she was given more vaccinations, inoculations, which could have messed with her biology even more. There's so many medical variables that there's no reason to assume that her blonde hair and pale complexion was permanent. As to her RE3 short hair, I would assume she knows she's changed since her RE5 outing, and it was her way of trying to go back to the way she was. A start from scratch kind of approach. I'm obviously making excuses to justify the very obvious marketing ploy, but that's something I can see her character doing.
All I wanted was to kill you. All of you. I was conscious, but I couldn't stop myself.
But now to the big stuff. There's a specific way that Jill has always been presented in past games prior to the RE3 remake. Her character was like how Patty Jenkins handled Wonder Woman in the 2017 movie. A soft personality with soft facial features, but clearly a woman who is capable. She's a badass when she needs to be, and doesn't go easy on her enemies. Bear in mind, in the first game, Jill was mostly alone, and Barry Burton was under Wesker's thumb. The boulder-punching asshole at least had Dr. High Hopes. And then there's the OG RE3, where Jill was essentially on her own. Her STARS team having already left Raccoon City by the time the outbreak was at its peak, or the last of them getting straight butchered by the Nemesis. The only exception was Carlos Oliveira, and he spent a good chunk of his time simping over Jill. I mean, fair enough, but still. Even in RE5 and after her mind control device was ripped off her chest, I see you, Capcom, damn pervs. Even there, her only concern was making sure that the bad guy was stopped, not being coddled after being mind controlled. The point is, Jill was always depicted as the guardian angel of the series. She's attractive, but not hot. You don't think about banging her, but rather being comfortable around her. If she was protecting you, you'd feel protected. This bitch is gonna get me out of this shit alive.
After Raccoon City, this must be a cakewalk.
I suppose.
But then RE3 Remake happened, and Capcom changed her personality. She became so edgy. She's so harsh and crass that it felt odd. And it's that personality that was in the remake that carried over into this movie. I understand that Jill went through psychological changes from the experiments that Wesker did to her. It makes sense she's on edge, that she's not thinking straight, that she's saying things out of her character, but I think there's a way to depict that in a different way. What if she was legit aware of her darker thoughts? When she gets mad, she can come close to violent tendencies, but constantly holds herself back and lamenting her actions. There's any number of ways that Jill could have been done better, and I just don't agree with her characterization here. Make no mistake, no disrespect to Nicole Tompkins. She is a wildly talented voice actress. And having seen some of her streaming content where she brings on current and even past voice talent from the Resi franchise, she's a million flavors of adorable.
Flamethrower options. I'll just go upstairs instead. Ah! Oh god! Oh gosh! You're the worst! Ah! Ah! Oh my, why are your arms 7,000 years long? And then we did lots of ADR.
So many giggles!
So much.
Oh my god.
This scene took us forever.
Here comes the star of the show.
That was scary. Is the worst thing that has happened to me all month. I just want it to be Christmas. I just want to go home. I don't want to
get in the
be
staring
here
doll closet.
anymore. I can't do it. I can't do it. I'll pay anyone to do this for me. I'm such a
I don't fault her. She didn't write the script or have any creative control over how Jill would be brought to life, so to speak. She showed up, did her job. I like what she did with the material that she was given, but the material was otherwise not agreeable to me.
That's hard to do when you let your emotions get in the way, isn't it?
Go fuck yourself.
But I think we can all agree that it commits one terrible travesty that makes it irredeemable. And just thinking about it, man, oh, this gets my blood a-boiling. And I think y'all are going to agree with me on this one. The cardinal sin that it commits. Jill doesn't unlock a single thing. Master of unlocking things. My brown ass! Cancel Capcom! 0 out of 10. I want a refund for this movie! The sad truth is I think I'm one of the few people that actually enjoys this. Make no mistake, it's got its issues. It's not good. But I do think it has its highs and lows. I don't think hardcore Resident Evil fans will like this as it's barely survival horror, but none of the movies ever really were. Even the animated ones. It's just the weakest one. Still, if I've said it once, I've said it 1,000,000 times, and I'm gonna say it 1,000,000 more times, I will take the worst of these Resident Evil animated films over the best of the live action stuff. My honest rating for Resident Evil Death Island, a disappointing strong 3 out of 5.
I hope this works. Definitely going on vacation after this.
Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Stay safe and healthy out there. Hope to see you soon.